Okay, so fights this week. We've got UFC Vegas 64, live from the Apex. It's an interesting card. The headlining fight is pretty good. Mariana Rodriguez against Amanda Lemos. That's quite an interesting one. There are a couple of decent fights on here as well. I'm going to break down a few of the fights that have just jumped out of the page at me. I just break down the fighters, what they do well, give you some background information. It's MMA for dummies. This is like just so that you can, if you want to learn a little bit more about some of the fighters on this card, then stick around. I'm starting off in the heavyweight division. In the heavyweight division, Chase Sherman taking on Josh Perusian, and this is actually it's quite an interesting fight. This one is going onto my Patreon. Okay, so this one is a Patreon exclusive. So if you would like to see this breakdown, head on over to the Patreon, the Burt Locker on Patreon now. Thank you. Moving on to the next, you've got Neil Magny, 26-10, taking on Daniel Rodriguez, 17-2. This is in the welterweight division. That is 170 pounds. Now, Neil Magny, he's one of these guys. He's been in and around the sport for a very, very long time now. He's always been the perennial kind of gatekeeper. He gets up to a certain point and then usually loses and then works his way back again. His style isn't the most fan friendly. Like it is. He's very busy. He works well. He occasionally gets to finish, but not often. He usually, his biggest strength is that he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses. He's very good in every area, and his cardio is very good. He's got a long frame. He fights long very, very well, especially using teep kicks up the middle. That, like, in a nutshell, like Neil Magny is the perennial kind of, well, he's not contended for a title, so I couldn't even really call him a contender. He's been in the top 10. I don't know how many years he's been in the top 10, but it's a while. It's a good while, because he's just so good, but he never quite gets to that next level. And the real question here is Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez, 17-2. Daniel Rodriguez, I like him. He's a bit of a kind of wild card. He's not as well rounded as Neil Magny. His boxing is probably better. And also he's got like a cage tattooed on his chest with his birthday and everything. I love that. Daniel Rodriguez looks like the bad guy in a typical MMA movie. That's what he looks like. And you know what? He is fun to watch. He's beaten some good people in his time as well. He got, the win over Kevin Lee. He got the win over Mike Perry. And for me, he's just, I think he might struggle with how well-rounded Neil Magny is. As I said, like, in boxing range, Daniel Rodriguez, his strengths are that the kid can box. His footwork's pretty good. He does have some good low kicks as well. He throws out the low calf kick, or at least he did in his last fight. He seems to be evolving slightly, but his main bread and butter is his boxing. His 1-2 down the pipe is just tremendous. It really is. And it's very crisp. And the cross should help him negate some of the reach of Magny, because Magny's got like a 6-inch reach with his hands, 4-inch leg reach, and that's going to be playing into how Magny fights. If you've seen Magny fight before, you'll know that he likes to stick on the outside. He usually goes in with a teep kick, sets up with a combination, and the combinations are usually long as well, and he's very good at staying out of range. It's going to be quite difficult for Daniel Rodriguez to close the distance, because, but like I said, the cross might help him negate some of that, because his 1-2, his cross in particular, rear hand, is very, very good. Now, when you look at it, Magny, he lands a lot of less significant strikes than Daniel Rodriguez. When you look at Rodriguez, he's actually very busy on the feet. 7.75 significant strikes per 15 minutes. That's pretty good. Like that's per minute, I think. Anyway, Magny lands much less. So for me. Also, Magny they're not significant strikes, but he will land volume. But you've got to bear in mind that Daniel Rodriguez probably does hit harder. And when he hits, like I said, they are more significant. And damage is weighted far more heavily now. They changed the scoring system. Damage is now scored first. It's a primary scoring criteria, which is important to note here, especially when you've got one guy that is known for just being a bit more impactful with their strikes, going against somebody who is more of a point striking pitter patter in Neil Magny. No disrespect intended at all, but he does tend to do that. He will outwork his opponents and try and get the decision. And that, for me, is where I think this one is going, because the other stat that I'll draw your attention to is that Daniel Rodriguez really doesn't wrestle a great amount. Generally speaking, 0.2 takedowns per 15, whereas Magny does mix it up. He gets 2.31 per 15, and that's... he at least threatens with the takedowns. He's got about 50% accuracy on his takedowns, which isn't brilliant, but actually 1 in 2 isn't bad. So for me, I think Magny's going to at least threaten with the takedowns. He's going to draw reactions out of Daniel Rodriguez, who will want to stay at boxing range. Magny won't let it get into boxing range. He'll be kicking from the outside, using the teep kicks to the gut to keep that range like in his advantage. Threaten with the wrestling, maybe even get a takedown here or there. I'm taking a Neil Magny decision in that one, but it should be a pretty fun contest. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because it'll be quite a strategic one, that one, I think. And then you've got the main event. Mariana Rodriguez against Amanda Lemos. I love saying that, Lemos. So you've got 16-1-2 for Rodriguez, 12-2-1 for Lemos. Now, the tail of the tape here, you've got a 2-inch reach, 2-inch height advantage for Rodriguez, but the reach is exactly the same. And when you look at these guys, they're both very similar in their careers. They've got a similar amount of fights, a slight edge and experience to Rodriguez there. And stylistically, they're quite similar as well. They're both from Brazil, but neither of them tend to go to the grappling very much. Now, I don't see that Lemos has any qualifications in submissions in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't see a belt grading there. I might just not be looking hard enough. Marina does have the purple belt, but Lemos does tend to look for submissions more, because she does have 3 on her record, including the guillotine over Michelle Watson the last time out. This one should be a kickboxing feast, honestly. It should be really, really fun. For me, the difference in the striking is going to be the leg kicks. Lemos, she just generates so much power in the leg kicks. Like when you look at I have some videos running up here. Even the ones with what was her? Andrade, sorry, why do I blank on some of the most famous people's names? It really bugs me. Anyway, Jessica Andrade, even though she lost that fight, some of the, like, you see the leg kick that I just put up there, the reaction that she drew out of Andrade was like, you could tell those were really, really hurting. And the leg kicks is something that she goes to a lot. And it's a great technique. She goes very low to the calf, and they're so impactful. They look like they really hurt. Now, Marianne, she does use leg kicks as well, but they're nowhere near as impactful. So Marina's going to have to be careful when she's exchanging leg kicks with somebody who throws as much power as Amanda Lemos. Now, Lemos, she's just got more power in every area. I think that is fair to say. The edge in power definitely goes to Amanda Lemos. But Marina, she does have a slight reach advantage. So her key to victory, she's going to have to try and keep Amanda Lemos on the outside and maybe even kind of grapple with her. But the problem that I've got with her striking style is that Marina, she tends to just telegraph a bit. When you watch her, she goes in and she kind of lunges. Up here, I'll show you now, like she lunges in against Yan here. And look how off balance she gets. If she does that against Amanda Lemos, Lemos is going to grab that neck, get a guillotine on, and it's going to be over. That's one way that I could really see this one going. For me, I think that Lemos will be able to she'll be able to stay away from Marina's punches, and once she lands a few of those leg kicks, it's going to be even harder for Marina to stay away from Lemos, which is what she's going to have to do. Lemos, she hits so hard. She hits so hard. She's got a lot of knockouts on her record, and I could see a knockout as well. But I'm going to cover off the submission because, as I said previously, I could see Marina swinging, going off balance, and then finding herself in a spot of bother with Lemos. Lemos has clearly got a good squeeze on her because she's gotten those guillotines before. So for me, I'm taking double chance TKO/submission for Amanda Lemos. But either way, it's going to be a really fun fight, and I'm looking forward to it because it should be a feast on the feet, theoretically, because both of these fighters are very similar and they're both fighting to try and be the best in the division. It's a really terrific main event, and I would say definitely tune into it, because stylistically these ladies will put on a hell of a show. I'm looking forward to it. So the odds on all of the bets, they're not up as of the time of filming, so I will be I'll do a post or something. I'll throw it up on the Burt angle on Instagram. You'll see it. It's got my logo on there as my face. I'll usually post up a picture of my accumulator on there. Let me know in the comments, what accumulators are you putting on? I really enjoy seeing what bets people are putting on, what odds you're getting. So let me know if you had any bets last week that came off. I really love seeing it. So yeah, if you could like and subscribe as well, really appreciate it. And I'll wrap these up next week, do a recap. We'll see who wins, who loses, who's moving up, who's moving down. And until then, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.